Now we'll begin to build our trading comps valuation spreadsheet of Delta Airlines, an American airline company that most of you probably would already know. Delta Air is one of the biggest airlines company in the world. It has a market cap of approximately $25 billion, has annual revenues up to $50 to $51 billion annually. It's a huge, tremendous company. And of course, it's a very good target for us to practice because since it is relatively easier to find comps companies, so peer groups, very easier to find relatively because there are many multiple competitors with similar business models and similar value chains. So what we have here that we have provided you with our raw data is, number one, we have made a slightly, formatted spreadsheet. We're not going to do this from the beginning, but some of the decimal points or the formulas or formats has been already formatted for you, so we can really, make the process much more efficient. And as well as that, we have provided you with the raw data of the top 30, no, the top 20 airlines companies in the world according to market cap. These will be our peer groups for our trading comps valuation. In order to download this material, we have used an service provider named Koifin. We're not really, recommending just this application itself, but other applications as well where they provide similar services. But we are using this service just for your reference. So what it does is, it's very similar to Bloomberg or Capital IQ or FactSet, just a lighter version of those. And it allows us to download multiple data sets simultaneously, and it's relatively much more cheaper than other service providers. So we are using Koifin, and I think it's much more appropriate for most of you who are not, if you're working in a financial institution, if you have access to Bloomberg or Capital IQ or those more advanced services, then of course we recommend you to use those. If you don't have access, there are lighter apps that you can use for personal investors or students who don't have access to expensive advanced programs. So we have downloaded the data sets for you from Koifin. And of course, if you rather prefer to do this yourself or just manually do this, I've seen some of our competitor companies do lectures on how to pull out data from 10Ks or to 10Qs, pulling out LTM data and forward 12 months data. You can also do it manually. Maybe if you have the time later on, maybe we can show you a couple samples of pulling out the data. But I think it's extremely time consuming and inefficient to do so. So we have provided you these data sets over here. So let's go over just one by one what we have here. First of all, let's keep the raw data. Let's just not touch the original data. Let's copy this to the right or to the left. Let's to the right. I've pressed Control and dragged it to the right. So now we have two identical spreadsheets. We're going to change this name, Alt-H-O-R, to now raw. And what we're doing is we're just keeping the original, downloaded materials just here, just in case. And we're going to, just go over what kind of components we have downloaded for you. Because the column widths are not adjusted properly, let's press Alt-H-O for format and then I for auto fit column width. So let's press Alt-H-O-I, and now we can see the column is much more easier. Let's see just one by one. First of all, we have our tickers on the far left. So these tickers are, tickers used in the relevant stock exchanges. So they're listed in these stock exchanges, some of them in the US, some of them in Europe, in Korea, in China, in Hong Kong, and so on. And they have all relevant tickers related to the individual listed company. We have 20 companies from Singapore Airlines to Air France. So according to the top 20, according to market cap, so it's sorted by market cap size. We have, of course, we need stock prices, the latest price. I think it's as of last week, so approximately January 2023. We need total debt data and cash and short-term investments data in order to calculate net debt. And if you think about it, why we need this data is we have to calculate enterprise value. So as we have described you in our previous lectures, enterprise value doesn't just come up right away. Enterprise value should ordinarily be calculated according to this formula, equity value plus debt value minus cash and equivalents, and minority interest and preferred equity if applicable. So these data sets over here, these 4 lines, are there just in order to calculate enterprise value. So these data sets, either price or enterprise value, these will go to the numerator. And then from revenue and so on, these data sets we'll be needing for our denominator. We want to do we want to use revenues. We want to use EBITDA for EV and EBITDA multiple. We want to use revenue for, price to sales or EV to sales multiples. We also need EBIT to calculate EV to EBIT multiples. Lastly, in order to calculate PE multiples, we need the data for, we need the EPS data. So 4 sets of performance metrics. In actual practice, maybe you'll have much more, longer data sets. And for the time frame as well, we have only, downloaded, full year revenues, last 12 months and next 12 months. So just 3 time frames just for simplicity. If you're in actual practice, maybe you'll have like 2 years forward multiples. You might also want to know, historical 2 or 3 years sets worth of data. But just for simplicity, we only have downloaded just the 3 years full year. So the latest full year data, last 12 months, and then the next 12 months. And for revenue, EBITDA, EBIT, and EPS. So that is our data set. Let's shorten these columns back to its original column width. Let's make it same with this one over here. Looks good. Column width is 10.43, so let's just all make these alt HOW column width 10, and let's save for the moment.